for the past few months, I've been building out the bathroom in my cabin. I'm at the point now where it's time to start moving in furniture. When I originally designed the bathroom, this piece was going to be used as my vanity. However, I have given it some serious thought because this piece, while it's beautiful, does not provide a whole lot of storage. This upper cabinet actually holds the original radio. This is an Olympic radio. I'm sure this is from the 40s or early 50s, but I don't want to take this radio out of this unit. This bottom cabinet here, which is missing its pull, actually houses one of the speakers. This other cabinet does provide some storage. And then it has this slide out drawer here that unfortunately doesn't provide a whole lot of storage, and it doesn't actually have any sides on it. So it's not really a usable piece of furniture for what I was hoping for in the bathroom. I did inherit this piece from my mother. She may have gotten it from her mother. It's a beautiful piece of furniture and I do love it, but I decided to take a look on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist and see if I could find some other furniture for the bathroom that would provide ample storage. And I happened to come across a diamond in the rough. This is the piece I found to replace the radio cabinet. This is a 7-foot tall mahogany corner cocktail cabinet. And when I first saw it, I was so intrigued by it that I went online and did a little bit of research on it. I did find that it is not an antique. It is a piece made in the UK. According to the manufacturer, it's bespoke, which generally means that something's been handcrafted of quality materials or that it's been customized to the end user or the buyer's needs. This piece, however, had sat with the individual that I got it from for over a year. They had tried to get other people to buy it originally. Nobody had any interest in it. And even when they tried to give it away for free, there was no interest in it. And that's because whoever shipped this up from the UK to Alaska did a horrible job of it. Originally, it had glass shelves in it. And those shelves obviously were just set inside of here, allowed to shift around in transit, and these full-length mirrors that are in here were completely shattered. So my intent today is to repair this and get this working and usable for my needs. So I have my work cut out for me, but one of the very first things that I had to do was I actually had to stabilize this thing so that I could stand it upright. When I first tried to stand it up, because I had it brought in and just laid down on the floor in here, and then when I tried to stand it up, the top snapped right off of the base. And that's because this is actually made of fiberboard, which is probably one of the other reasons why nobody was interested in it, because like I said, it's not an original antique and it's not made of the highest quality materials. You would think that this would be solid wood. Unfortunately, it is not. The only thing that is solid wood are the doors on this, I believe the header, and that's it. Everything else is fiberboard, which is not the greatest thing, especially to put in a bathroom, but this is not going in an area where there's a lot of moisture, despite the fact that it's a bathroom. So, because it's fiberboard and because of the way they had the top attached to the base, when I first tried to stand it up, like I said, the top popped right off. And that's because they only use these short, maybe 1.25 inch screws to go through the base and the top where they connect, and they barely even touch the top unit. So I went back in and I put in some 1x2 strips of lumber along the back that I screwed in and multiple places, and that allowed me to lift this unit and stand it upright. Piece is incredibly heavy. I have no intention of trying to remove these mirrors from this cabinet, because while they're shattered and broken, they're also glued on to the backer board, which is just a thin piece of Luan, so a thin piece of plywood, fiber board in this case. It's not even real wood back there. And if I were to try to rip those off, I would probably wind up damaging it more than it already is. So I'll be covering those up, and I'll talk about what my plan is for the sides of this shortly. But right now, what my concern is recreating the shelves for this. Because this is not a easy shape to recreate, it's going to take a little bit of creative thinking to do so. There's a bevel on both sides here, as you can see where my hand's moving up and down in the mirror. You can see this bevel here. There's a bevel in the back, and then the front of it is kind of oblong. It's like a quarter of an oval or an elliptical shape. And so I'm going to need to figure out how to draft those up and get the right size shelf to fit in here. So I'm going to go ahead and take some measurements, and then I'll meet you downstairs where I'll begin to cut out these shelves. I still need to build a workbench, so I'm working off the floor to cut out these shelves, but I've already gone ahead and cut down some plywood using my circular saw, and I cut it to size except for on this one end. I did leave some excess over here, and that's because I'm going to be using my jigsaw to make these cuts. And the one thing about the jigsaw is that if you can't keep your guide plate firmly on the board and it dips down on one side or the other, you run the risk of getting a misaligned cut or potentially breaking your blade. And so hence why I left this here, so that when I go to do my cut, I can firmly set that on top of the board on both sides and don't run any risks there. But now I need to draw out the curve of these shelves. The cabinet upstairs is actually semi-elliptical, and so I'm just using one of my sewing French curves to get the actual curve that I need. And what I'm doing is starting up in the corner where I'm going to start my cut, and then I'm going to draft it out, working my way towards the other side here. Now, ideally, I would love to clamp this board down to a workbench, but since I don't have one, I'm going to be using my body weight to hold this in place. One of the things about using a jigsaw to make a cut is that your board has a tendency to want to bounce. And I'm hoping that it doesn't bounce too much and I can get a smooth cut out of this. If it doesn't come out that smoothly, though, I will be sanding down the edges of this regardless. So still hoping this works well. Well, that actually cut out really, really nicely. But I see my supervisor watching me behind me, so I better get busy because I've got the other 3 to cut out. But before I do that, I need to run upstairs and make sure that this is going to fit before I cut up the other boards, because I'm not sure if I have any more plywood, at least scrap plywood, that I can use for this project. Well, moment of truth. Let's see if this shelf will fit in here. I still have to put in the sides, so I did make this a little bit more narrow than I would have if I didn't have to fix the sides of this. But what I'm really concerned about is, am I going to be able to latch these doors? There's a latch at the bottom of this side and at the top. So I need to go ahead and close that up, which it latched just fine. And this locks just fine. So now that I know that it fits, I'm going to take it downstairs. I'm going to sand it up and cut out the other 2 shelves. And then we'll begin to work on making this look beautiful on the inside. To cover up these broken mirrors, I am using some thin plywood, 1/4 inch underlayment. And I'm just going to be sliding these in. But because this cabinet is so tall, unfortunately, it does not reach all the way to the top, the piece that I have on hand. I was only able to get 2x4 sheets of this, and I needed 54 inches. So I did have to cut an extra piece, which I will be attaching to the top up here. And let me show you what I plan on doing. My original plan was to stain the interior of this cabinet, but after giving it some thought, I decided to go with a Victorian style wallpaper, which also allowed me to connect that 6-inch piece to the lower piece so I could install it all in one fell swoop. And then I'm just using some Loctite to attach these panels to the mirrors. I can't really screw them in since the mirrors are there. Couldn't really tack them in with some furniture tacks. So this was about my only option for securing these panels up to the interior of this cabinet. Luckily for me, by putting the wallpaper on the way I did and using pill and stick wallpaper, it was very forgiving because as you can see, that 6-inch piece here is wanting to drop down, but it allowed me to bend it so that I could get it up underneath the lip of the front of the cabinet and get it all secured in place. And isn't this wallpaper absolutely beautiful? I think that it is to die for. I don't know if you've ever heard the saying that all magic comes with a price. And even though this was free for me to take it off of someone's hands and it needed some serious work done to it, I say serious because that's what most people would have assumed looking at this. Honestly, the price to turn this from someone's trash to my treasure was minimal. But I am very happy with how this turned out. Now I'm going to go ahead and add some of this same wallpaper to the lower cabinet. I didn't replace the shelf in that one. That'll allow me to put a larger item in there. But I am in love with how the interior of this looks now. You would never know that there's broken mirrors behind there. And the shelves, they turned out fabulous too. And all I did with these shelves was, you can see they have a bit of a sheen to them now. I took some gold wallpaper. This is a gold wallpaper you can just get off of Amazon. This wallpaper came from Spoonflower. I'm not sponsored by anybody. I doubt I ever will be. But this is a beautiful wallpaper. Though I have to admit, no offense to Spoonflower and their quality, but this paper is much thinner than the mural I put up on the wall in the bathroom. If you haven't seen that video, be sure to stay tuned to see that or check out the link that'll be at the end of this video. But this was easy to work with nonetheless. And it is a beautiful paper. As you can see, it's very vibrant. And this gold paper that I have on here is very thick, very sturdy. But I still have a bit of work to do on the cabinet. For one thing is, I actually have painter's tape up at the top holding those little extra 6-inch strips of Luan up to the side of the cabinet because the shelves are providing some like bracing as adhesive drives in there, but up top there's nothing to brace those 6-inch pieces. So I have painter's tape up there, but I'm going to go ahead and stain up a couple pieces of trim and then I'll be attaching this. The only thing is I need to get a brad nailer or a little pin nailer. I have a finish nailer, but I don't have anything that can do really fine little nails. So once I get that, then I'll put these in. Unfortunately, it won't be in this video. And then the other thing is that despite the fact that this received so much damage on the interior, the exterior did not receive hardly any damage, luckily. But with that being said, there is a scratch right up here up top. And I believe, yes, there's one down at the bottom too that I'm going to need to fix. And I'm hoping that just some old English furniture polish, furniture oil in a dark stain is going to cover that up. If not, I'll have to just come back with a little bit of stain on it and touch it up. But other than that, this piece really did turn out pretty nice. And even though, like I said, it's not solid wood, I'm very happy with it. It's going to work for my needs. And speaking of working, I need to get back to work because I still have to finish that bathroom. And so with that being said, check out these videos here. And thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care and stay safe.